You can now get a 30-day trial to experience The Athletic for free. Visit the link in the description below to try it now. The rules around loans are about to change. Recently, FIFA announced that a reform process that began back in 2017 would lead to new regulations being introduced in time for the 2022-23 season. So what are the changes, why have they been introduced, and what effect are they likely to have? So, the new rules first. Well, as of July 2022, the following will apply to all international loans, with domestic associations expected to adopt the same regulations within 3 years. First, there will be a new minimum loan period, defined as the interval between any 2 transfer windows, and a new maximum of a single calendar year. That means no more 2-year loans. In addition to which, a club may only loan a maximum of 3 players to one club at any time, and the same applies in reverse. They may only loan 3 players from a single club at any one time. And FIFA is also imposing a ban on so-called subloaning, which sees players on loan at one club being loaned to another. But the real changes will be seen in a further measure, which will eventually limit the number of total incoming and outgoing loans in any one season to 6 in either direction. This will be a staggered change and will be gradually imposed over a 3-year period. In 2022-23, clubs will be allowed to bring 8 players in and loan 8 players out. In 23-24, that will drop to 7, and the following season it will fall to 6. That will initially apply to international loans only, but domestic associations will be expected to adopt the same framework within 3 years. But there are also exemptions. Players who are 21 or under and are club-trained players, i.e. those who've spent a cumulative 36 months at the club between the ages of 15 and 21, would not count towards the total. But importantly, only if they qualify under both categories. For example, a 25-year-old homegrown player would still count against the total number of loans allowed, as would a 20-year-old who doesn't meet the homegrown criteria. So those are the technical points. But what's the motivation behind this change, and what are the resulting effects likely to be? Well, the aim is to curb player hoarding, and in doing so, encourage better development practices. Now, in plain English, that means demotivating rich clubs from stockpiling players who have little to no chance of representing their first team. By limiting the opportunity to construct sprawling loan networks, the legislation increases the cost of keeping fringe and developing players under contract, and theoretically promotes a more even spread of talent across the game. So, will it actually work? Well, maybe. No club is more associated with loan networks than Chelsea, so they are an interesting test case. At the moment, they have 21 players out on loan. It was 22, but Kennedy was recently and unexpectedly recalled. Many of those 21 would be exempt, including Conor Gallagher, Dion Sterling, and Armando Broja. By the rules, as they will be in 2025 though, Chelsea would still be some way over the limit. Players like Drinkwater, Bakayoko and Emerson would obviously count against the total loans allowable, but so too would Jake Clark-Salter, goalkeepers Nathan Baxter and Jamie Cumming, and young left-back Juan Familia Castillo, as all are over the age of 21. In total, there are 10 Chelsea players out on loan who aren't protected by an exemption, and that number will need to fall. Now, it's important to note that the perception of Chelsea's loan army is quite outdated. It's nothing like as substantial as it was. Clubs have been expecting this change for some time and have adjusted their strategy accordingly. Manchester City's network is actually bigger than Chelsea's. They have a current tally of 12 players on loan who would not meet the criteria for exemption, and in total 34 professionals playing their football away from the Etihad this season. And even that pales in comparison with some of the networks that have been growing abroad. As of January 2022, for instance, Atalanta had a staggering 64 players out on loan. Now, even accounting for the 39 players aged 21 or under who are exempt, that would still demand a significant pivot in strategy when the rules change, as it will for Inter Milan and Genoa, with 48 and 38 players out on loan respectively, and Sassuolo, who have 45. But the effects of this change will be felt differently by different types of club. Affluent sides who were previously happy to sign big budget players to fill out their squads will presumably be less keen to do so without the fallback of being able to push that player and his wages out on loan once his usefulness expires. Similarly, while new loan rules will do little to prevent the hoarding of youth players, clubs will either have to play or sell their emerging talent. No longer safe in the knowledge that they can send infinite players into perpetual loan orbit throughout their 20s. From that perspective, the stated aim of these reforms is realistic. It will no longer be quite as viable to stockpile talent. It will probably improve development practices, and in certain cases, and to varying degrees, it will even out the competitive balance. The opportunity to be a feeder club will diminish, for instance, as it will no longer be quite so easy to artificially elevate a league position with borrowed players from a single source. But the loan market doesn't just serve one aim or just a few elite clubs. In the aftermath of the pandemic, teams have used it to protect themselves from devastating losses in revenue. Historically, clubs have often been able to alleviate the cost of relegation by sending devalued players out on loan, when without the full utility of the loan market, they might have been forced into outright sales from weakened bargaining positions. The new regulations won't stop them from doing that, of course, but their limiting effects are a consideration. So it's an improvement for the better, and most likely a change that promotes a healthier environment. But it might still come with a few hidden costs and caveats. If you like this video, please consider subscribing to the channel. The Athletic is where the Ralph Rangnick to Manchester United story broke, where a team of journalists have provided unrivaled coverage of Newcastle United's new ownership, and where dedicated writers cover every Premier League team no matter their place in the table. And you can try it free now for 30 days.